Come on in. YouTube mess with my live. Come on in. We're gonna pick back up on the I call things like this Hood Chronicles, where just craziness happens within the community. So come on in. We're talking all things T Hood, Kelsey Frost, Kai Frost, Kirk Frost. I'm back. Hey Rizza, thanks for coming back. It looks like it. I don't know, child. I don't know, Rizza. I don't think you were on. Were you on my live last night? I tried to do a live on my larger channel, my political channel, and YouTube shadow banned me. So I think I only seen Just Say Win and Virtuous, but I was on for like 17 minutes. Had to end the live. I did 2 attempts, but YouTube shadow banned me. So can you believe, like, so how I know people, like, how do you know when you're shadow banned? Because you know by your numbers. It peaked at maybe like 18 people on my live. Now you know, Rissa. Can you imagine modding my channel over there with 18 people? You know it get ruthless over there. It ain't for the faint at hearts to be my mods. So that's how I knew that they was playing with me yesterday. So I jumped off. I was like, y'all, I'll come back later in a day or so, because usually when they shadow ban my channel, it's usually, not for a long period of time. It don't mess with one live. Then when I come back, it's all good in the hood. The previous live did over 30,000. So again, that's how I know, I'd come to know what my numbers are, because my lives be like double, my lives be crazy. So when I seen 18 people, I'm like, all right, y'all, we not even finna do this. We not even finna let her play with us like this. RZA say they playing with you. I seen it after you was off. Yes, oh, they was playing hard. And when they shadow banned me on my second channel, so anyone who's new to my channel over here, hi, my name is Sheik, and this channel is Sheik Speaks. I have a second channel called Sheik Speaks on it. It was once my smaller channel. Now it's my larger channel. It's like double, almost triple the size of this channel. So it's my larger channel now, but I talk politics, and child, it get crazy over there. The energy is completely different than over here. And we do big numbers over there. It'd be like 30,000+ people that will come through on the live. And every now and then, and I don't know how YouTube picks and chooses when they want to shadow ban me, but it's usually coming off of another live, and maybe they just don't like what I talked about, how I talked about it, because the last live I did was like Tuesday, and that one, I had to do that in 2 takes. So between the 2 lives, it was like 40,000+ views between the 2 lives. So last night, it was like when I ended it, after like 17 minutes, when I seen the numbers, it would fluctuate. It'd go down to maybe like 9 people. The highest I seen was like 18 people. And then the total people that came through was like 125. Child, when you know, ain't no way that channel is going to have numbers on any day looking like that. Now, this channel may, because I don't really do content on this channel as often anymore, but not the other channel. So that's how I knew they were playing with me. So I was like, hello. So I didn't want to waste my time, anybody else's time. I was like, yo, turn your notifications on. We'll try it again. So this morning I want to do a walk and talk on this channel, because I want to talk about the T Hood situation, because I was following that last night, since they messed with my live on my political content. That's the of having 2 channels. I can kind of, when they start playing with one, I can jump to the other. Both channels are over 2,000 subscribers, monetized, all of that. If you're not following me on my second channel, make sure you follow me on my second channel, because it be on and popping. Go over there and see why they be shadow banning your girl. They've been doing it more frequently lately. So Sheik Speaks on It is the name of my second channel. Sheik Speaks, and then just add on it. Follow me over there. I talk all things politics. Over here, this is just where the ratchetness take place. All the other things that pop off in these streets, U.S. streets, worldwide streets, whatever popping off outside of politics, I will talk about them on this channel. So with that being said, welcome. Good morning. Good morning. Like the video. Rizza, you says, yeah, you hit a nerve. How I don't know Let me see what it says. You hear the nerve. How I don't know your content don't be crossing any lines, in my opinion. Yeah, I don't feel like it. I don't. I will say I cover content differently than anyone else as far as how I deliver it, but it's the same news. I compile different news that people deliver out there on the mainstream media. Even it's no different information. It's the same information, but she speaks on, y'all, when I deliver it in a way, I promise you ain't never heard it delivered before. It's just me. That's just me. That's why, listen, I can only be me. And so, however it is that I deliver the information, it gets a lot of people's attention because I do that channel you already has over 1 million views, and it's not even a year old yet. So we do numbers over there. So if you're interested in hearing what I have to say centered around the climate of the U.S., what's going on in the world today as far as politics, follow me on Chic Speaks on it. We get into some things, so get ready. Now, as far as on this channel, this is the channel I talk about other stuff. T Hood, Kelsey Frost. Let's talk about it. Mama and sister did an interview. They interviewed with another content creator recently, maybe within the last 48 hours. They interviewed with them and they just talked about some things that weren't being put out there. To me, or what I've been seeing, most of the things that's been put out there has T Hood looking in a bad light. I've seen the videos, a couple of videos where he putting hands and feet on her. I've listened to videos where friends, people, women, other people are giving their testimonies on their experiences with him, what they've heard, what they've seen, all of that. So these things have not been favorable for him. So the family's like, yo, we got some things to say too. And those things that they are saying has Kelsey to not look so innocent. What I walked away from, just even now, mind you, this interview was like 4 hours long. So I got through maybe like the first 1 hour of it where I left off. And that was just them telling basically talking about the history of the relationship and what happened that day. Kind of, I think the things, in the rest of the other 3 hours was probably just all other stuff. But the details of what happened and all of that came out within like the first hour of the video. They're like, yo, they had a toxic relationship. They always argued. Mom, sisters, like, yo, we've never known for him to be putting hands and feet on nobody and doing all of that. So when they like, yo, what about the video where he's seen doing this, that, and the third? They like, yo, that's old, period. I personally don't think that that's a good enough response to where it's been put out there of your child, your brother, putting hands and feet on a woman, and your response being, well, that's old. Let's just talk about what happened on the day of. No, because to me, when people see that information, it's providing context to people, view it as added context to the situation, probable cause. It plants the seed that, okay, maybe he's not with us because it was a case of defense, which is what they're saying that Kelsey is saying it was based off of, I guess, this police, or she told the police that it was self-defense. They're like, yo, we talked to Kelsey that day, whenever we talked to Kelsey, they were like, Kelsey's story of what she told us happened is not the same as what in the police report. They said they have a copy of the police report. I have not seen the police report my own. Before going live today, I listened to a content creator talk about, she kind of read out the police report, and she was like, it was just very short, couple of sentences, just said, hey, on August 8th, they responded to a call where a man had been shot. They arrived to the scene, and basically, he was shot, took him in, I guess, to the hospital. Eventually, he was pronounced dead. It wasn't really no detail the woman was saying in the police report, but T Hood's sister was like, I'm just gonna say we can't get in it too tough because y'all know when there's pending investigation who knows if anything may lead to a trial, anything like that. They were like, we're just going to say that what Kelsey said, the sister was like, what Kelsey told me, it doesn't line up with what was said in the police report. It doesn't line up. Good morning. What's up, Dr. J? Happy Sunday. She said, Kelsey, they said it doesn't line up. How many of you all listen to any of the recordings of the situation that has been put out there? One of Kelsey's best friend. No, take that back. Kelsey's best friend is the one who put out the videos of him putting hands and feet on her. That she released that. T. Hood's family put out the phone recordings of a conversation following the incident that Kelsey had with the family. I don't know if it was the same day, next day, I don't know. But it's out there. It's not hard to find. But in the recorded conversation, the family mom had questions. Yo, what happened? This, and that. And in the recorded conversation, Kelsey says that it was her brothers that came through. And then she said that she don't condone anything like that. And the family and the mom's like, well, yo, like, I'm just confused as to if you're saying you told the police that your brother did it, why wasn't he not arrested? Why wasn't he not taken in? And Kelsey was just like, yeah, right. You know, basically, I understand where you got those questions. So from what I'm piecing together from the different things I'm hearing, Kelsey, when she was talking to the family, it was on some type of time of, yeah, my brother did it. It was wrong. I don't know why. But when she talked to the police officers, it's like, okay, well, yeah, my brother did it, but it was out of self-defense. So it seems like in the conversation with the family, she didn't throw in the self-defense part. You see what I'm saying? It's just like she's saying, yeah, my brother did it, but it was wrong. And then you put a period at the end. Whereas with the police, it's like, okay, yeah, my brother did it, but this is why my brother did it, because this, that, and the third was happening, and it was all out of self-defense. Y'all see what I'm saying? So apparently, from Kelsey's side, the story is, hey, T. Hood was just being abusive to her and the brother, and out of self-defense, the brother shot him. So that's how the stories differ, and that's why the family's like, listen, they feel like he was set up. They feel like T. Hood, the family is like, yo, we feel like T. Hood, Tevin Hood, that's his government name, Tevin Hood. We feel like he was set up. We feel like that while he was trying to leave and walk to the gate, that is when they shot him. She didn't want him to leave. Because as I was saying on part 2, my live kind of got interrupted. I'll backtrack. Mom's was like, prior to the shooting, she was on the phone with her son, T. Hood, because he called her. He called her to let her know. He was like, Kelsey's over here tripping again. She's popping off. We're at it. And she said that she can hear Kelsey in the background just going off. She was like, oftentimes when things would get hostile like that in their home, her son would call her, say, Kelsey over here just doing the most again, and he'll kind of sit the phone down in the background. That's what he said. That's what the mom said. Her name was Yolanda. I can't think right now what the sister name was, but Yolanda. Well, why you, Yolanda? Yolanda was, see, she wasn't innocent like that. And when it came to the relationship, she was like, it was the abuse and things wasn't things that was initiated. Listen, Kelsey, women too, that's what she's saying. She's like, yo, I don't want to be on here talking bad about her because I actually liked her. I'm just saying women can be abusers too. Now, we've seen plenty of videos out where, or at least I've seen at least 2 with T. Hood, Tevin Hood, Miss Yolanda's son, putting hands and feet on Kelsey. So we know for a fact that he's abusive. What I have not seen yet is Kelsey being abusive. Because remember, the mom on this interview was saying Kelsey was abusive. She was jealous, all these things. His best friend, who they referred to one another as brothers, said he can contest to that. Kelsey would just do the absolute most. T. Hood would talk to him about just the drama, and he would encourage T. Hood to get out of that situation because he just felt like it just can't anything good come out of a situation like that. If you're saying she toxic like this and she this, that, and the third. You need to get out of that situation. But of course, that didn't happen. The family is alluding to like T Hood was basically trying to leave, and he was on his way out of the relationship and trying to get away from Kelsey, and she wasn't having it. And they think that that's pretty much kind of why it resulted in his life being taken. They also added that they feel like Kelsey was jealous of T Hood. So I did not know of Kelsey's existence or T Hood's existence until T Hood lost his life. It's one of those situations to where I did not know these people until this situation happened. I'm very familiar with Kelsey's father and stepmother, Kirk and Rashida Frost. I'm very familiar with them just because their name, they're just in the industry. I've just known who they are. I live in Georgia. You just don't live in Georgia, be tapped in just a little bit and not know who Kirk and Rashida Frost are. You just don't. So I knew who they were, but I never got into any of their projects. I just knew who they were just from hearing their names circulate. Didn't know any of their kids' names. I knew they had children. I knew Kirk be doing the absolute most, got a bunch of kids. Rashida ain't all mamas, all of that stuff. So I knew that. So me learning of Kelsey, I just learned about her. So it's just like, okay. So the family feels like Kelsey was jealous of T Hood because they said T Hood, everybody loved T Hood, everybody knew him. He had motion in these streets when it comes to music. And she just was jealous of that, given that like her dad being in the industry and not really trying to help her like that. And it was put out there, I think they were saying that the dad, which is Kirk Frost, he had told one of the young ladies, I don't know if it was T Hood's ex or baby mom, because T Hood I think has a daughter that's maybe like 6. And he was like, he stopped kind of responding to Kelsey and her drama with her man, and because he's like, yo, she ain't gonna. So what's the point of me intervening and doing whatever, and she ain't leaving, she ain't going nowhere. So I can understand just as a parent where you like, damn, you keep trying to tell your child like you need to get away, this ain't good, and they keep going back. And you like, listen, I can't risk my life, my freedom, going to jail behind somebody, and you ain't even trying to do your part with just staying away from them. You see what I'm saying? I understand it just as a parent. Just really think about it. So that's a tough place to be in, where as a parent, you see your child being mistreated and they're constantly going back into the situation. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what do you do? Especially when you know you got other responsibilities, children or wife that's dependent on you. Do you put your life, your freedom and all of that on the line when your adult child is just choosing to play with fire, to be in a toxic relationship? So I get that. So fast forward to the situation with T Hood losing his life on August 8th in Snellville, Georgia, which is a neighboring town from where I live. I lived just within 15 minutes away from where T Hood lost his life. We live in the same county, Gwinnett County. Kelsey has brothers. So even though daddy kind of had checked out because he's like, yo, I can't do this no more, because I don't even know how long Kelsey had been messing around with T Hood, but it was for a while. So it seems like daddy kind of had checked out, but the brothers were still like, yo, this my sister. So I get it. Like, I get it. And when I think about this whole situation and how everything turned out, ain't no way that Kelsey mentally and emotionally is going to be not affected by this for the rest of her life. Just really when you think about it, that her boyfriend, who she calls or refers to the love of her life, he's no longer with us. And she's saying by what she's saying, he's no longer with us because of her brother. Kelsey has to sit in the details of that. Whether her brother goes away and does any time for it or not, she still has to sit in that the situation could have been very different had she herself done some things differently. Of course, T Hood could have done things differently as well. But when we get in situations We have to really think about our parts in the situations and what we could have done in the situation. Because at the end of the day, all we can do is control ourselves. We can't continue to point the finger. Well, he could have done something too. No, we have to really sit in what could we have done differently to yield a different outcome. That's why I say Kelsey will forever be thinking about this. She's young right now. I think she's what, around 30 or whatever. T Who was around 33. So they're young people. She doesn't have any, from what I understand, they didn't have any kids together. I don't think she has any kids. Like, she's young. This is something she has to live with forever. Those of you who are new to my channel, hey, my name is Sheik. My background is clinical mental health counseling. So a lot of what I talk about, I'll touch on mental health. Because every day we wake up and we moving out here in these streets, the things that we encounter is having some type of impact on us, mind, body, and soul. You are impacted. It's just a matter of what type of impact is whatever you're experiencing having on you, whether it's good or bad. I'm going to say that we're not going to argue that what happened between Kelsey and T Hood and that whole situation is not bad. It's bad. There's so many effects that can be had on just everybody involved. The family, Kelsey, the Kirk family, the whole entire family. Even daddy wondering if he could have even done anything more, said anything else that could have convinced his daughter to get out of that situation. Or him even thinking, man, maybe if I would have maybe done more with trying to help put her on, maybe she wouldn't have stayed over there. Because I've heard people throw out there, maybe, she was entertaining the abuse and staying with him because if he did have more emotion in her, that, okay, well, he can kind of help put her on. You know what I'm saying? It's so many reasons why people do what they do. So we just sit and wonder and just go off of just the information we have. And so I just think that this is a bad situation that the family on both sides are going to have to kind of just live with and just figure out how to kind of navigate through life with the outcome, which is T Hood no longer being here, and a possibility of someone, Rashida Frost and Kirk Frost's son going to jail. Who knows? Who knows? Now, the family feels like because of the family, Kelsey's family, being, some people call them hip-hop royalty, but that's just, titles I was throwing out there. Like I said, I know that family well. I just didn't know the kids so well, Kelsey and Kai well. The family think that there's special treatment being shown to the Frost family with this situation because of who they are. They said that the police officers and things, like, they've been rude to them. The sisters did say they went and talked to a detective and they were nice, but they're not really the ones who are really kind of really handling a lot of things. So they were just like, they just feel like they're not getting the best treatment that they can get, and they feel like it's because of the family, because of it's the Frost family. So with money talks, I don't know, but this is how the family feels, and I'm not going to dismiss their feelings about that, because I do understand how a name can go a long way. Money can kind of have an impact on the outcome of a situation. And this is how the family is feeling. So they're going to continue to talk until they get justice for their loved one, which I am not mad at. I have not seen it with my eyes, but I hear that there is a GoFundMe out there to help with his burial. But yeah, so clearly, he wasn't somebody sitting on a lot of money or anything. It seems like he didn't even have a car, because remember, moms offered to send him a lift to come to her house, and then he was staying with Kelsey and her brother, and he had 6-year-olds. So they say he was 33, but it's given that he didn't have, from a financial standpoint, he didn't have his stuff together. He didn't have his stuff together for in the area of finances. It's given that he was pretty much like a struggling rapper trying to kind of make it. Y'all know that story. And he, died before he really made it. I'm saying he didn't make it just because I didn't know who he was, and my teenage son didn't know who he was. But I'm just, and then I told y'all, remember, Mama was offering to send him a lift, and him and Kelsey was staying at her brother's house. So it's evident that he didn't have his money wasn't up like that yet. He was clearly working on it, but it wasn't there at the time of his demise. What they say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. To me, the stupid games is choosing to be in a toxic relationship for whatever reason. And that is exactly what that was. We saw T Hood putting hands and feet on Kelsey. And then we've seen the statements, or I've seen the statements, or where Kelsey referred to T Hood as the love of her life. Now, how somebody become the love of your life in the world, and we seeing them putting hands and feet on you multiple times, I don't understand. But that's that toxic stuff that I'm talking about, to where if you're not a toxic person, sometimes you just kind of won't understand certain things because you're just not about that life, It's like when you're not about that life, you don't really understand. You don't understand certain things because that's not your energy. And I think that's what's happening with this situation, is that it's not my energy and a lot of people's energy. So people are in straight confusion, like, what we doing here? Like, but at the same time, there are a lot of women who are like, listen, I understand why she was still there, because it's not so easy getting out of an abusive relationship. I can say, by the grace of God, I've never been in an abusive relationship. I've seen them, being raised, with families, and seeing it take place, between in relationships with family members when I was a child. So from my experience, I seen enough to know that just wasn't what I wanted. So it made me be more or be very conscious or cognizant on the type of person I chose to be with, to be in a relationship with, because I just seen the toxicity of, I just seen what it looks like when a man is putting hands and feet on you. I've seen it. As a child, I have memories. I have memories of watching that, and it just wasn't something I wanted for my life. So I was very conscious about the type of guys that I chose to be in a relationship with. And if I did come across somebody that gave off a certain type of energy that seemed as though they were abusive, I just quickly got out of it. You have to know the signs, recognize the signs, and then see it for what it is and just leave, and not stay because it's like, well, I want to change the person, or I don't want to start over what happened to meet someone else. So many people will stay in something because it's just like, well, I don't want to start over, or I don't feel like I can get someone. I got these kids. I put this weight on me. I just feel like I gotta just, let me just deal with this. I'm vested. We've been together for 8 years, however many years. It's okay. And so people will like rationalize the foolishness. Sorry, I'm picking up my mail from my mailbox in the community. So people will rationalize the foolishness and just continue to just be caught up in it until something like this happens. And a lot of times it's the person being abused. A lot of times the woman is the one who ends up losing her life. In this situation, it was the man who lost his life. But as I say, his family is saying, yo, like, he was being abused by Kelsey. Let's talk about it. So you got one side saying he was abusing me, and then you got another side saying she was abusing him. But as far as for evidence that we as the people have seen, me included, the only evidence I've seen was him abusing her. I'm just calling a thing a thing. That's all I've seen. I ain't seen nothing else, y'all. Every day, like I said, something new is coming out with this situation as far as information. But the family's like, yo, we're going to continue to talk because the truth isn't really been put out there. The truth of the matter is Kelsey had a temper. She was jealous. She wanted him for herself. T would sometimes not be around family and friends or whatever to appease her. She was jealous because he would, talk to other women. He, as an artist, he would work with other female artists. And she wanted always just to be the one that he worked with. Her career wasn't at a place where his was. So there was times where he worked with other artists because they said, she wasn't ready, things like that. So they were like, listen, what we're seeing out here isn't the complete truth. I can believe, people gonna put out what they want to put out. Like I said, I feel like they both were toxic. I don't feel like anybody deserves to lose their life, but I will add that if someone loses their life in the midst of being violent to someone else, and that is the result of it, that's an unfortunate outcome that will likely happen when you're not living right and you're doing wrong onto other people. That's the consequence of that. And what I feel when it comes to T. Hood's family is that there is an issue with accountability when it comes to them really taking onus of like his behaviors, his decision making. Because like I said, when the video started circulating of him putting hands and feet on Kelsey, their response was, oh, that was old. What? So we not going to talk about the fact that he was physically abusing her? You're just going to say, oh, that was old? No, we got to talk about it. And to me, it's given that they're used to him being abusive like that to where they're immune to it, to where it's just like, it's just what he does. He just does that. Nobody ain't ever died from it. So, somebody get a bruise, but this just what happens. He'll, fight somebody. They probably get a lick or two, sometimes in or sometimes not. But to me, it's given like it's a norm for them. So you just say, oh, well, that was a long time ago. Okay, well, when? What's a long time ago? 3 weeks? 3 months? 3 years? Like, when was that? Let's talk about it. And they don't want to really talk about that part. But they'll say, well, Kelsey, she was abusive. She was jealous or whatever. But they don't want to really go into the details of what's being shown on camera that he's doing. You continue to say, oh, they said, well, I ain't never known for him to be physically abusive. Okay. But I don't really quite believe that, because the mom said that she talked to her son like every day. She talked to Kelsey all the time too. I feel like they were in a relationship for a matter of years. I don't know exactly how long Kelsey and T. Hood were in a relationship, but I feel like it was for a good little minute. And if you communicate with your child, your son, and his girlfriend very regularly, and you say they come over for dinner, you cannot convince me that you did not know that they weren't fighting physically. You said you knew that they used to verbally argue, but nobody never told you that somebody over there putting hands and feet on somebody. I don't believe that. And also, I believe that a parent knows the temperament of her child. Let's talk about it. A parent knows the temperament of her child. So if somebody come to you and child did something or acted out in a certain way, you know if whether or not it's likely that your child did that, because it's your child. You know your child. Even though he's a grown man, you said you had a close relationship with your son. You know your son's temperament. You cannot convince me that at some point this man has not shown this temperament to members in his family. I grew up seeing abuse, having an abusive uncle, loved my uncle dearly. I was his favorite, but I knew he was abusive, and I knew that as a kid. So you cannot convince me that the adults in my life did not also know the same thing. And I did not see them moving in a way to where they were in denial about his volatile behavior, him being abusive. And this including mom, aunties, grandma. They knew that he was on that type of time. Everybody knew this. Everybody knew this. So I feel like this mom knows this about her son. She does not want to put that out there. But just because you don't talk about a thing does not make a thing not a thing. I repeat, just because you don't talk about something, it don't make a thing not a thing. You're just choosing to not talk about it. And by her choosing to not talk about it, it's shedding more light on the situation to show that this man, he was used to being in a situation where he was coddled and where people overlooked his indiscretions where people just turn the other way or say, oh, well, that's just how he is. This is just what he does. And it's not okay to make excuses for poor behavior. You have to hold people accountable. And this is not what that family did. And you can tell by the way they've responded to the videos that have come out. It's simply, oh, that was old. What kind of response is that? Ain't no way. You got to talk about that. You have to at least acknowledge they had a volatile relationship. At least even adding that they would fight each other. No, as they're doing these interviews, it's strictly Kelsey this, Kelsey that. But no one wants to talk about his violent behaviors. That's a problem. And when I look at the comments on these videos from the interviews, people are catching that. They're in the comments and they're like, yo, this family, they're not, the problem, they don't want to hold him accountable. They don't want to address, they do not want to address the situation concerning his toxic behaviors. There's multiple people out here on Beyonce / Blue Ivy / Diddy internet talking about how crazy this man was. Even with friends saying, yeah, you know, he was on some other type of time. Y'all, they're saying that like back in March, he had gotten shot, and that was coming off of him putting hands and feet on another woman, a side chick. And some folks wasn't really here for that behavior. So some dudes kind of got him together real quick. And he ended up getting shot. And also what I've heard is that these gunshots that took place with this, when he died on August 8th, he was shot in the same spot where he was shot early. I'm back. Sorry, my phone overheated. It happens when I'm outside. But yeah, so we'll wrap this up soon. But yes, so T Hood allegedly he was shot earlier this year, and it was following it was due to him being abusive to another young lady, an alleged side chick, and some dudes in the community was not here for him putting hands and feet on a woman. So, you know, they shot him. He wound up at Grady Hospital, which is a well-known trauma hospital here in Atlanta, Georgia, where I live. I live in Atlanta. I live about 15 minutes away from where T Hood was living, where he got shot and killed in Gwinnett County. I live in the area, so I'm familiar with, you know, the area and things like that. But the family, I think if they're going to be talking, they can't talk without acknowledging that T Hood wasn't the best guy. I'll say that. You have to acknowledge the reality of things. I understand that you're sad that you lost your loved one, your son, your brother. You want to know what happened. I get all of that. But you also have to acknowledge that he also wasn't the best person as well. There is footage out there showing that. They said on the day of the shooting, they've been told the cameras weren't working or nothing was working. There was no cameras that captured anything that took place. Y'all know nowadays almost everybody and their mama got a Ring camera. They were saying what they've been told is nothing was working, whatever. So y'all know how that go. Whether or not there was some suspect behavior that took place that day that resulted in the loss of T Hood's life, I don't know. I don't know. But what I do know is that it was a toxic relationship, and it should have ended a long time ago. And this is a classic example of playing stupid games and winning stupid prizes. Those two should not have been together. I also feel like, based off of what we've seen with this man being physically abusive to this woman, that bad things are likely to happen when you're moving in that way. Bad things can happen when you're not moving on the up and up. And the fact that we did see him on camera violently beating on this woman, Kelsey was a little small thing, looked like barely over 100 pounds. We see that this man was not living right. This man was not living right, and there are a lot of people who not really feeling a way about him losing his life because of that, because of what they've witnessed with what his temperament was. They've witnessed him having him being very volatile. So because of that, some people aren't showing empathy to him losing his life. I am not one of those who I show empathy for anyone who's who's losing their life because you got the fam. Like, it's hard. I don't wish that on anybody. But I can't talk about this situation without acknowledging that there were poor decision made. There were poor choices being made by this man, as it pertains to how he was dealing with people, in particular women. He wasn't living right. He wasn't living right. This man, T. Hood, was not living right in the days leading up to his life. He wasn't living right. And it's showing it. It can't even be hidden because the videos and everything is coming out. And the family can only say, well, that's old. That's a very weak response when someone's bringing something to you that's negative about your family member, and your response is, that's old. And then you don't even follow up with, well, that's old. That was in such and such year prior to him changing his life, him doing this. You see what I'm saying? How context, it makes a difference. You gotta put some more on it. You can't leave it at that's old. We need to know, well, how old is it, and what's happened since then to have people to believe that he was no longer that person. You see, they didn't do that. It was just, that's old. So it's suspect. That's why I'm like, I don't believe that they didn't know that he was an abusive person. They knew. They just turned and looked the other way. And a lot of times people will turn and look the other way is because it's like something that that's viewed as being normal in their family and their community. So it's just like, oh, that ain't nothing. This is hell. My man was doing it. His daddy was doing it to me. You know, the sister, you know, maybe not her man doing, you know what I'm saying? Because so many people have experienced abuse to where when it takes place, it's like you become immune to it. There was a text, I think they said that Kelsey had sent his mom kind of saying, you know, that he was on some other type of stuff and, you know, he was doing the most whatever. They was into it. And the mom's text, response was, okay. So I don't know anything more about the context of that text, but this is part of the conversation that's been had where it's just like, okay, Kelsey coming to you saying, hey, he over there doing this, whatever. And you just say, okay. So some people feel like mama and sister, like more so they're in their feelings right now on this type of level because he lost his life. But otherwise, had his life not been lost and them knowing that the abuse and all this was popping off, it would have been just like any other day. It wouldn't have been, it's like, all right, whatever. This is what they do. This is what we do. They good. Because the mama say, yeah, they get into it, whatever. Then next day they show up to my house for dinner. Like, the toxicity was just the norm. I'm going to let you know, and I told my kids, ain't no way toxicity in a relationship between my kids is going to be a norm where I know it's toxic. And then following their many episodes, they just come into my house. No, we're not doing that. If any of my children ever get in a relationship and it's toxic and I pick up that the person they're with is a toxic person and they're just still choosing to be there, I will let them know that person is not welcome in my home. How about that? And I had a conversation with my teenage son. I got one son, he's in college. He's back at college. He's 20. And I have one that's a senior in high school. He's 17. And he has a girlfriend. And I had the conversation, hey, does your girlfriend, ever, does she have a wild temper where she's getting physical and just doing the most? He's like, no, I've met the young lady and I did not pick up that energy from her. She seems very calm and chill, just like my son is, very even, just even temperament. And so when he said no, I could believe it because, I've met the young lady and things like that a couple of times. And I just didn't pick up that, she's not ratchet or nothing, very good girl. But I told him that under no circumstances would it ever be okay for any woman to put their hands on him or him to put his hands on them. That is not what you were raised around. You didn't see that in our home. And you did not see that in the home of other family members. My children, unlike myself, that grew up seeing abuse, my children have not grown up seeing abuse. I can honestly say that. There's no one here that my children have been around abuse taking place. Physical, they haven't seen that. I saw it. My children, my 3 children, have never seen that. So there is no reason for any of them to get into relationships where they're abusing somebody. Where you get that from, player? Let's talk. Where you get that from? Where you learn that from? Let's talk about it. So with that being said, I know mine, what I raised my children, but I need to let them know, hey, it's not okay for somebody else to come at you on this type of time either. I'm not dealing with that from no woman. I'm not dealing with that from no man that my daughter may get in a relationship with. Nobody. Everybody keep their hands to themselves. The day that starts happening where folks passing, doing all that, no, you ain't coming to my house with that. You're not coming to my house with that. She or he is no longer welcome at my house. And I expect for you to get out of that relationship, because nothing good comes out of abusive, toxic relationships. The outcome is typically somebody, one, going to jail, or the worst case scenario, somebody being unalived. And that is what happened with the situation with T. Hood and Kelsey Frost. People just getting a high. I don't know. People getting a high off of the toxicity. I don't know what you get out of it. I just can't imagine ever just getting off on being in a toxic situation. But there are so many people who continue to stay in toxic situations, and they got all the reasons in the world as to why they stay. Okay, well, keep that over there, and I wish you the best of luck. I wish you the best of luck, and all the players the best of luck, because we do not see where that ends well. It doesn't end well. It's rare that you got this couple and they dealt with all that, and then they overcame that and they still stay together until the Lord calls them. Most of the time, that's not how the ending ends. The abuse just stays until the Lord calls one of them home, or somebody goes to jail, or somebody loses their life. Like, that's usually like how it works. That's how it works. So I'm like, no, it's very unfortunate. Kelsey, this is going to forever impact her. And to be honest, you all, given this light this around her, I do not see how realistically she will ever really have a career in the rap industry. This will forever follow her. This will forever follow her. When people talk to her, you think people are going to be interested in hearing about a latest single that she got out? Upcoming projects? No. People's questions are going to be centered around T. Hood. She is going to forever be asked questions about him. People are going to want to talk about him. They're going to want to hear that. And that's going to be overwhelming for her, because it's like, how do you heal? How do you overcome? Where every time you talk, people just want to hear you speak on something that just basically a bad time in your life. That is going to do something to her psyche. That is going to impact her. Mark my words. Rap career, that's done. I don't know how she'll reinvent herself, to what kind of job she'll do. Y'all, don't be surprised if you over down the line, and as you're watching her life play out and seeing you, and you hearing about not so good things happening with her as far as the quality of her life. Because it's trauma. This is traumatic. It's trauma. She's enduring trauma, right? It's trauma that she's endured. PTSD. She's going to need counseling. Even if she never does a day in jail, this right here is going to be forever impacted, because someone lost their life and she played a part in it in some type of capacity. That will impact anyone, because what happens is that you constantly replay in your mind that day, what you could have done differently, what you wish you hadn't done, like all these things playing in the head over and over and over again. And the thing is that we can't go back in time and change anything. We just have to deal with the result of whatever and just learn from it. But for a lot of people, it's not that simple, you know. It takes time for you to kind of come and realize and accept the fact that, wow, I gotta live in this. I gotta accept the responsibility I played in this part, because let me just tell you this part. You're not going to heal without the responsibility and the ownership and accountability part. If you're not taking responsibility acknowledging, the role that you played in a situation, you're not going to heal. I promise you that. That is the hardest part for a lot of people, is to acknowledge the role that they played in a situation. And that is what keeps people stagnant, and how they don't overcome things and they living in all this trauma, is because they're not wanting to own up to the role, the parts that they played. And the healing comes when you start to work on you and take and own up to your role. That's when the true healing takes place. When you own your part, when you acknowledge what you could have done differently, because that's how we learn, and what helps us to not repeat history. Because if she does not do these things, it is a good chance that she can wind up in another toxic situation. You see what I'm saying? So you have to stop and reflect. You got to stop and reflect, because it prevents you from getting yourself into another situation like that. And I would say that it's very likely for her to wind up in another toxic situation if she does not get the helps that she needs. And that's going to be counseling. And a lot of times in our community, the Black community, people are not here for counseling like that. People have gotten better with it, with the idea of counseling, but it still ain't as popular as it should be, even when people do have the money and the resources. And I hope that Kelsey, her family, who do have money and resources, for her and her brothers, whoever played a part in it, I hope that they do get counseling and help, and don't just turn to drugs or alcohol. Y'all know all the things that people would turn to before turning to Jesus or going to see somebody counselor, sitting on their couch. Like, y'all know what people do. This is when people's mind starts to go, because they encounter something traumatic and they don't get the proper help, and they try to deal with it and cope on their own. And it doesn't work out. And they spiral. And the next thing you know, you're hearing these conversations on what happened to this person, what happened to that person. I remember when this happened with them, and after that, you really never heard from them. All of those things, because ain't no way this young lady is going to be able to just can go outside right now since that incident happened, show up to anybody club, any party, social event, and people not looking at her, people not whispering. Ain't no way. That's not happening. That's not happening probably ever again, to be honest. Counseling and all of that will help her to be able to navigate through when those things happen. But those things are going to always happen. The counseling will help her to navigate when they happen. Okay, when people start to ask you questions, when people start to look at you a certain way, this is what you do in those situations. Those are the things that the tools, the things that you will learn from counseling. But counseling has nothing to do with how people on the outside are going to treat you. That ain't got nothing to do with nothing. Counseling and focuses on you, how to handle things, the experiences that you encounter, how to handle those, how to navigate through those. Counseling is all self. I can't go to counseling and think that as a result of I'm going to counseling, it's helping my child or it's helping my husband. Like, it don't work that way. Counseling helps me. Now, as a result of me getting help, it can result in my children and my husband maybe responding to me differently. But it doesn't help them in all as far as with just how they're navigating just in the world. That's just not how counseling works. So she will have to have that understanding. And she's going to encounter people coming at her. And then we live in the times of the internet, child. She is going to have to learn how to navigate through these trying times. She's going to have to learn how to navigate through these trying times. Because right now, I promise you, this is more than likely the most trying time she's ever experienced in her life. And hopefully there will be no other situation that tops this one. Hopefully there's no other one. Hopefully it's just this, and then we're learning from it, because there's plenty of lessons to be learned. Now, what I will say is if there was any foul play that took place on August 8th at the home of Kelsey T. Hood and Kai Frost, I hope justice is served. I hope the truth does come out. That's my thing. I hope the truth does come out. That's my thing. So I'm not saying, hey, I'm Team Kelsey or I'm Team Hood. I'm Team Truth. So if the truth is this man was wrongfully murked, then the people who often should be held accountable by the law. If the truth is he was murked because of self-defense, then that's what it was. That's what it was. I just want the truth to come out. I'm going to continue to follow this story, to listen, to hear out, because it's like I say, it's almost like daily something new is coming out centered around this story. And I'm sure even since yesterday, there's been some new information. The latest information I've found is that the autopsy, you know, if you request for the autopsy, they're telling you that it's still pending. But the police are saying that T. Hood lost his life due to self-defense. So it's like, okay, well, where did that conclusion come from? Because the family is saying T. Hood was shot in the back. So what's the story? So everyone's kind of being tight-lipped right now, which I understand because it's a pending case. So I get it. I get it. If you're interested in hearing what the family had to say, they are talking on the internet. I think the content creator who I listened to, who did the interview with them, I think the channel was called Ratchet TV or Ratchet Hood TV. Just go to YouTube and type in T Hood Family Speaks or T Hood Family Interview, something like that. It shouldn't be hard for you to find it. So it was an interview done on to YouTube. The interview would have taken place within like the last, I think maybe Friday, maybe it took place. Very recent. Go listen to what the family had to say. The interview was like 4 hours long. At least that's how long the video was. I listened to maybe like the first hour. And the rest of the 3 hours, I think it was just little, you know, here in between. Like basically the gist of the things that they, that the family knows came out in the first hour. It's very disheartening. It's a sad situation. But as I say, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. And that's just for anyone. And I feel like if the family is going to be out talking, what they're going to have to do is to acknowledge that T. Hood was an abusive person. While they acknowledge that he was in a toxic relationship with a woman who they felt was also toxic, they have to also acknowledge that their loved one, their son, their brother was also toxic. And that's not what they're doing. And I do not feel like just because someone loses their life, they get a pass of their past behaviors. I do not feel that at all. I do not feel like, okay, well, because they lost their life, people shouldn't talk about the wrongful things that they did while they were living. That's not how this works. Because what happens is that based off of how you was living, and then when you die, and if it's something centered around violence, people will connect those things, the things that you were doing when you were living, to how you died. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you was on some demon time when you were living, being violent, like Kelsey's best friend was like, one time, like, she was out with Kelsey and him, and they were at a club or something. There was a performance taking place. She really didn't want to go, but she went to support her friend because she don't like being around T. Hood. T. Hood just started doing the most, try to get some random girls to jump Kelsey, mind you, his girlfriend. They trying to leave. The girl, you know, the friend trying to get her purse so she can go on. He takes her purse and just slings it across the parking lot, and all her stuff go flying. She was like, that was her experience dealing with him. So again, mom, sisters, you can't just get on Beyonce's, Blue Ivy, Diddy's internet and just speak on how he was just this awesome guy because people was coming to listen to him rap. No. We got to talk about his volatile behavior. As you talk about hers, you can talk about hers too, but you can't talk about hers without acknowledging his as well. His is on camera. His is circulating over the internet. Hers isn't. Y'all released a video with them arguing, but in that video, it did not show one time where her getting aggressive with him. She was snapping on him, telling him to get out of her face. She was in her feelings about something centered around a woman and all of that, which is fine. That's nothing new. People get into it. People argue. But everybody don't put hands and feet on one another. And what that video did not show, it did not show Kelsey putting hands and feet on her then man. It did not show that. But what we are seeing is videos of T Hood putting hands and feet on Kelsey. You see the difference? You see the difference? So what I say, if you're going to talk, don't talk about some of it. You got to talk about all of it. You got to talk about all of it. It's a sad situation, but that's the situation. I'm going to continue to follow it. If there's anything that I feel worthwhile, like coming out here to talk about, to provide an update, I will do that. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. Share the video. Also, make sure you're subscribed to my second channel, Chic Speaks on It. That is my larger platform. We're nearing 6,000 subscribers. We talk all things politics. So if you're interested in wanting to know my opinion centered around just the economy, things that's popping off in D.C., all things Trump, just politics, just everything, all things politics, follow me over there. I always have things to say, opinions. YouTube ain't always here for what I got to say, which is why I'm not even over there right now, because they shadow banned me. So I may go live in the coming days on that channel to see if I'm still shadow banned, because that's the only way I know if I'm shadow banned, if I go live and if I see people show up. So if people show up by the thousands, then I know, hey, I'm not shadow banned. But if people show up and the numbers are like super low, under 100, that's when I know I'm shadow banned, you know? So that's how I know. That channel get a lot of motion. It's different from this channel. I'm not on this channel very often, so I have to kind of get back in the algorithm. I just kind of jump in and out like double dutch on this channel because I spend most of my time on my second channel. So make sure you follow me on both YouTube channels to stay in the know. Make sure you have your notification bell on. I always like to say, go out into this world and show up in a way in which you want others to show up for you. Like attracts like. You can't be out here doing the absolute most and want good juju. That ain't how it work. Be nice. Be nice. How about that? How about that? That could have been a game changer with this situation between Kelsey and T Hood. Just people being nice. It's the little things. I like to say, it's the little things. It's the little things. Legit, y'all, it is the little things. Often it's the little things that can keep you here, that can keep you breathing that much longer. So on that note, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful Sunday. Take care of yourself and one another. Be blessed, and I will catch you on the next broadcast. Peace.